Well, good morning, folks, and welcome back. Again, we have some more folks who joined us who missed last night. My name is Bill Purcell. Again, I'm the Associate Director for Catholic Social Tradition at the Center for Social Concerns. And again, many of you were here last night. Ken was wonderful, and I love the way he answers questions and how he moves toward the person, really listens to them. A couple housekeeping things. Today, just so you know, for the meals are actually downstairs in the basement. So again, breakfast will typically be out there, but lunch and dinner today will move downstairs. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then for those who wish to participate in Eucharist, again, that'll be over at the Basilica. Essentially, you just go straight towards the dome and go to the left of it is where that will be. Just turn right outside the door, walk towards the Golden Dome, and go to the left, and that's where the Basilica will be. It's the easiest way to find it. If you have any needs or anything comes up, please let myself know or Paula Mulher, my assistant, to let us know whatever you need along the way. Today will be our second keynote. Professor Todd Whitmore will do the introductions. And just so folks know, Professor Whitmore, Todd, and myself, we're the co-directors then in the minor in Catholic Social Tradition. Actually have brochures if folks are interested in learning about that. So the minor was actually created by Kathleen Mass-Weigert, who's here in the back, along with Todd back in the mid-90s. They created that, and now Todd and myself coordinate that minor in Catholic Social Tradition, then that is housed at the Center for Social Concerns. But it's under Arts and Letters, but it's an interdisciplinary minor. But I'm going to turn things over to Todd, who will introduce our two speakers. So this is an interfaith panel on peace. And we have, again, our distinguished guests that have flown halfway around the world to be here discuss this because they live it every day in trying to develop peace in the world. Again, so good morning and thank you for being here. Turn things over to Todd.
Thank you and good morning. One of the benefits of being a friend of Bill, and I mean Bill Purcell, not that other Bill, is that you get to introduce such wonderful people and accomplished people. This morning we have with us Amina Rasul-Bernardo and Father James Channan. Ms. Rasul-Bernardo is the president of the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy and is a managing trustee of the Magbassa Foundation. She is a board member of the Mindanao Development Authority. She has written and edited several books on the Mindanao conflict, Islam and democracy. She has degrees in economics from the University of the Philippines, master's in business administration from the Asian Institute of Management, and a master's in public administration from Harvard. She was a member of the Philippine cabinet under former President Fidel Ramos as presidential advisor on youth affairs. She was the first chair of the National Youth Commission there, and the NYC's medium-term youth development plan was cited by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific as one of the best practices in the preparation of youth. Father James Channan is a Catholic priest and is director of the Peace Center of the Dominican Order in Pakistan, United Religions Initiative Regional Coordinator in Pakistan, and he is a Dominican friar. He's regularly consulted on religious issues by Pakistan's government. He is the author of Christian-Muslim Dialogue in Pakistan. His licentiate degree is from the Pontifical Institute for Islamic Studies and Arabic Language in Rome, a master's degree in counseling from Emmanuel College in Boston, and did a graduate course in world religions from Harvard University. He received a certificate for doing peace building from American University, is a consultant for the Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue under John Paul II, and served as consultor to the Vatican Commission for Religious Relations with Muslims. So please, without further ado, join me in welcoming Ms. Rasul-Bernardo and Father Channan.
Good morning. Magandang umaga and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm actually a bit overwhelmed here at the University of Notre Dame because I am very much a lay person. I'm not a religious scholar like Father James, but I guess voices such as ours are also crucial in gatherings like this because we bring to you experiences from the field. I did not start my career as somebody involved in interfaith dialogue or peace education. I came into the civil society world intent on neutralizing radicalization and strengthening democracy, especially in conflict-affected Muslim Mindanao, only to realize that the most influential leaders and institution in Muslim Mindanao were the religious. And also only to realize that this highly influential sector was not engaged outside the teaching of Arabic and Islamic studies. So over the last 10 years, slowly I have gotten myself immersed in the world of our religious, of the ulama, trying to find out whether we can bring them on board when we talk about community outreach, human rights, democratization, peaceful resolution of conflict. And so I have been caught in this fantastic world for the past 6-8 years. I actually was one of the very few Muslims from my country who actually managed to meet Pope Benedict because of an initiative called A Common Word, which I will discuss with you later. Well, this week I have managed to escape the hot, humid, polluted, politically tense Manila to come to Notre Dame and be braced by winter on the first day of spring. But it has been great, and the warmth of the reception here has more than made up for the hailstorm in Atlanta and the snowstorm here in South Bend. What I would like to do for you today is to take a look at what the Muslim and the Christian religious leaders in Muslim Mindanao have been doing to strengthen peace, to work on peaceful resolution of conflict, and hopefully tie this up with the theme of Pacem in Terris. Pacem in Terris has paved the way for strong involvement of the Catholic Church and faith-based organizations in promotion of human rights, justice, peace building, and peaceful resolution of conflicts. And we in Mindanao have been beneficiaries and are very thankful because Catholic institutions and faith-based organizations have been, over the past 40 years, a major resource for capacity building of our Muslim NGOs, for peace building, and humanitarian work. Groups such as the Catholic Relief Service, in the Philippines we have a group called Caritas. They have worked extremely well. The Notre Dame universities of Mindanao, which I understand are not related to the Notre Dame University here in South Bend, but they have been our staunch partners and advocates for peace. Pope John believed that real and long-lasting peace is only possible if based on a foundation of truth, justice, respect for the rights of all men and women, and freedom. Pope John reminded that there can be no peace amongst people unless there is peace within each individual. decades later, this message of peace seems to have fallen on deaf ears of our leaders. I researched how many wars have been waged on Earth, and it seems since the 1600s, some 383 so-called small wars have been listed. And of this, 64%, 171 small wars, have been waged over the last 50 years. That's damning statistic. You have an encyclical that talks about peace on earth, and you have so much more wars happening over the period of time when we're supposed to be building up peace. Over 40 years hence, Pope John's message has been echoed in the Muslim world by a document called A Common Word, which emanated from leading religious scholars of the Islamic world. On October 11, 2007, a group of 138 Muslim scholars, clerics, and intellectuals sent an open letter entitled A Common Word Between Us and You to then Pope Benedict and the leaders of other Christian denominations. A common word called upon Muslims and Christians to start a process of historic reconciliation between the two communities. Driven by an agenda of peace, the letter noted that Muslims and Christians make up 45% of the world population, and that there will be no peace in the world unless there is peace between the two communities. The Common Word document highlighted the two themes of love of God and love of neighbor as the foundation for serious dialogue or engagement between Islam and Christianity. A Common Word is a significant document given the historical context of its writing, its issuance amidst the changing Muslim-Christian relations, and as a result of the 9/11 attacks. The Arab-Israeli conflicts and other irritants could not have come at a better time. Since Wednesday evening, I have been rereading Pacem in Terris and A Common Word while watching snowfall outside the window. And I have been really thinking about the encyclical and what Pope John said, that avoiding war is one thing, but building peace is quite another. Pope John believed and stressed that international differences must be settled not by force, but by diplomacy and peaceful resolution of conflicting positions and interests. Islam, while several Muslim-dominated countries are engaged in civil wars these past few years, also is a religion that puts a premium on peace, and A Common Word encapsulates that ideal. I have realized that what Pope John had drafted over 50 years ago is even truer today, when more conflicts have arisen between nations and between peoples and states, that 64% of small wars listed since the 1600s, that these have been waged over the last 50 years is unacceptable, even though it is fact. It seems to me that we have chosen to forget what is human, what is moral or ethical, to focus only on what is legal. If we can get away with it legally, why not? How then can religious leaders influence peoples and their political leaders that war is an evil that perpetuates itself? Perhaps in my country, because we are now engaged in a situation with Malaysia over property, over land called Sabah, perhaps our religious leaders and faith-based organizations can issue stronger reminders and petitions to both governments to take a step back and follow the path of peace as encouraged by both Christianity and Islam. As it is, unfortunately, the religious leaders in Malaysia and in the Philippines have been a little silent, perhaps because both governments are now in the midst of elections, in the midst of campaigns, and religious leaders have tended to pull back on whatever statements for peace and the protection of human rights that they should be making. At this point, we can only hope and pray for our leaders to take the path leading to Pacem in Terris. Now let me share with you the work that have been done in Muslim Mindanao by Muslim and Christian religious and faith-based organizations. Over the last decade, we have witnessed the rise of intolerance in many communities in Southeast Asia, such as Southern Philippines. And this intolerance has been a threat to social cohesion and fuel for radicalism in society. Religion, increasingly present in the public space, has a progressively more prominent role in both conflict and peace in Southeast Asia. In times of crisis, in response to perceived threats, whether military, political, or financial, it is natural for people to turn to religion for support and guidance. Globally, for instance, after 9/11, we have seen the rise of religious fundamentalism and faith-based politics. In the Middle East, after the Arab Spring of 2011, we have seen the rise to power of political parties and movements influenced by religious groups or positions. Faith-based conservative political parties won power over the progressives and liberals who have led the revolution in Egypt, Tunisia, and other places. Unfortunately, as religion and politics have come together, we also witness the rise of intolerance. For instance, in Egypt, a referendum approved a new constitution that Christian Egyptians fear did not grant sufficient rights to minority groups. In the Middle East and in moderate Southeast Asia as well, identity politics and faith have become intertwined in communities that are under threat, like conflict-affected Muslim Mindanao. In my country, the response of my government towards the armed conflict, the ethnic conflict waged by the Muslim liberation fronts against government has ranged from hardline military approach to political negotiations to interfaith dialogue. After over 40 years of battles and wars with the liberation fronts, government and other stakeholders have realized that responses to be effective require an appreciation for the religious and cultural diversity within our communities. What we need is a better understanding of the issues specific to our communities. Definitely, the military solution to insurgency does not bring peace and stability to the region. Thus, a peace process has been implemented by our governments from the time of former President Marcos, who actually was instrumental in the start of armed conflict between the Muslim communities and state. But since he could not control the result, he opted for political negotiations. Meanwhile, the government and one liberation front, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, have been negotiating for peace since 1996. Unfortunately, this process has been prolonged by post-9/11 militarization and many missteps on both sides. Fortunately, our new president, well, he's no longer new, he's several years old now, President Benigno Simeon Aquino, who was elected in 2010, has accepted early in his administration that a just peace cannot be attained by military solution. He has stated that all-out war will be replaced by all-out justice, recognizing that military strategies will not bring a solution to poverty, illiteracy, lack of education, lack of human security, which are factors that exacerbate radicalization. Unfortunately for us, a peace agreement is just a piece of paper if affected communities do not accept wholeheartedly that agreement as the solution to their own struggle. Outside of the political negotiations for peace, as harassment and paranoia rose following the association of terrorism with Islam post 9/11, Muslims in the Philippines turned inwards to faith. Perhaps it is in the arena of faith, therefore, that we must also turn. If government and society truly wish to have a strong foundation for peace in Muslim communities, which is the reason why we have always thought that our Muslim religious leaders and teachers, their roles have not really been explored by our own government. We did a survey in 2011 in the 5 Muslim provinces, and we wanted to find out who had the highest trust rating. We listed 10 positions, including the Muslim religious leader. And guess what? The Muslim religious leader, the ulama, had the highest trust rating at 67%. The next highest was the elected village captain, and he had a trust rating of 40%. So it seemed a no-brainer that you would tap the influence of the religious leader. But unfortunately, this has not been happening in the Philippines, especially in Muslim Mindanao. We always believed that if we could build strong links within the Muslim religious, the ulama can become more effective in working on issues outside of the teaching of Islam, but more actively in working on peace and development issues. Unfortunately, there have been a number of problems that prevent our ulama from maximizing their role as religious leaders and as educators. For instance, the Philippine ulama and the graduates of our Islamic schools, the madrasa, have not been able to fully realize their strategic role in society since most of our Islamic schools, our madrasa, have exclusively focused on teaching only Arabic and Islamic religious subjects, unlike universities like Notre Dame, where you can have a whole range of courses, including poverty studies. We don't have that, not in Muslim Mindanao. Second, there have been little capacity building for the ulama outside of the support that have been granted by Christian religious institutions and faith-based organizations. Third, we are not as organized as our Christian brothers and sisters. We do not have the hierarchy. Therefore, it is more difficult to get the ulama to participate as a sector. And fourth, the base of support for our ulama are the poorest of the poor. Therefore, resources is always a constraint. Given the role of the religious, given the influence of our religious, we have started working with them on several areas. First, Islamic peace education. Peace education is not a new initiative in Mindanao and in the Philippines. A number of organizations and educational institutions, most of them Christian, have been involved in peace building. Christian universities in Mindanao especially have peace centers that provide resources, training for peace education and for peaceful resolution of conflicts. However, these approaches promoted by these peace centers have not really been designed for Muslim communities. Their peace education, if not secular, has not appropriated Islamic concepts and terms which are impregnated with peace norms and messages conveying authentic Islamic principles. Therefore, an introduction of peace education generated from within our own faith will receive more support from Muslim religious leaders and from Muslim communities. Thus, over the last 10 years, our group, the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, have started developing an Islamic peace education book. We have our own manual. We started this in 2007 and 2008 in collaboration with our ulama and patterned after an Islamic peace education program that's being operated in Aceh. In December 2010, we actually hosted an international workshop on Islamic peace education where 27 experts came from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, even London and the United States. The participants recognized that peace education may be viewed two ways. One, as an academic course studied in universities, and two, as developed and implemented by civil society organizations to effect societal change. In our case in Mindanao, it is the second that we're more interested in. Participants agreed that Islamic peace education through the madrasa, being societal in nature, is something that should be developed. The engagement of madrasa students and their teachers stem from a desire to influence a community of learners towards performance of their duties and responsibilities in relation to peace building. So it is not enough to go to the madrasa to learn Arabic and to read and write the Quran, but there must be community outreach so that you could translate what you have learned and reach out to the community, pretty much the way that our Catholic universities are implementing your Catholic teachings. Creating a culture of peace through peace education must complement political attempts and settlement of conflict. It is peace education directed at, and I quote, education about the values, attitudes, modes of behavior, and ways of life that can enable them to resolve any dispute peacefully and in a spirit of respect for human dignity and of tolerance and non-discrimination. That is according to the UN Declaration and Program of Action on a Culture of Peace. Islamic peace education captures the values and ideals of Islam as a religion of peace and will be more acceptable to our suspicious brothers and sisters in hard-to-reach rural communities in conflict-affected Mindanao. Models for the nonviolent resolution of conflicts and peace education had been developed by Christian universities and civil society organizations, and we need to adapt this so that the language used is a language that is familiar to Muslims. And then there is interfaith dialogue, interfaith harmony, and a common word. Decades ago, the peoples of Mindanao had benefited from the action taken by the Catholic Church and schools following Pacem in Terris. As the conflict in Mindanao continued and as peace efforts faltered, priests and nuns and teachers developed interfaith dialogue to bring peoples together, especially in the divided communities of Mindanao. The peoples of Mindanao have come to realize that creative solutions must be implemented to finally end the conflict that has robbed millions of a bright future. More and more realize that Mindanao is our common land, a land that we can only enjoy if we can forge a common peace. Interfaith dialogue has become a vital tool in forging a common peace for Mindanao, advancing as it does mutual understanding between people of different faiths and facilitating collaborative action across religious lines. Such interfaith initiatives have focused on the grassroots because they involve the very segment of Mindanao society who have directly borne the costs of war. Dialogue among the Christian and Muslim clergy has been an enduring element of interfaith dialogue in Mindanao. Peace advocates know that the involvement and support of religious actors is critical to the success of peace building in the region. When they truly espouse the goals of dialogue, religious professionals, the ulama, the priests, and pastors, among others, have the capacity to guide and motivate their members to move from fear and distrust towards greater understanding and mutual tolerance. And because the religious leaders are trusted and respected in their communities, their involvement lends credibility to the process of interfaith dialogue and, more importantly, provides a positive example for the members of their communities, some of whom may not be as inclined to participate for reasons of their own. The Catholic Church has led the development of interfaith dialogue and peace education as vehicles to repair the divide between the Muslim and Christian communities. Church-supported interfaith dialogues became quite active by 1990, the year that the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, the CBCP, organized the Episcopal Commission for Interreligious Dialogue. During the term of former President Fidel V. Ramos, government supported the institutionalization of dialogue with the Bishop Ulama Forum, and the BUF would assist in developing strong support for the peace process with the liberation fronts. The BUF was later renamed the Bishop Ulama Conference, is a sign that it had grown and had become more dominant in Mindanao. The BUC leaders hoped that the peace agreement could be implemented successfully with the help of Muslims and Christians of moral integrity under the influence of the Bishop Ulama Conference. The Archdiocese of Davao provided and still provides the Secretariat support for the PUC. The Bishop Ulama Conference, the pioneer of interfaith dialogues in Mindanao, has become a strong ally of government to promote peace initiatives. One important activity coordinated by the BUC is the Mindanao Week of Peace, held every year since 1994, celebrated from the last Thursday, November, up to the first Wednesday of December each year. The Mindanao Week of Peace has the following objectives: to elicit an appreciation of religious diversity within a common cultural heritage as a base for unity in the advocacy for peace, to assess and broaden the gains of the peace process through a sharing of perspectives on local peace initiatives, to involve various sectors of the local community in the conduct of the special week-long activities for peace, to provide a venue for the expression of peace aspirations through various forms, art, mass media, etc., and to serve as a converging point of the various peace initiatives in Mindanao. The Mindanao Week of Peace has progressed from the holding of prayers for peace and dialogues to include activities as youth camps, symposia, visits to mosques by Christians, and visits to churches by Muslims. Truly, diversity in Mindanao has been both a challenge and a blessing. While the three main groups in Mindanao, the Muslims, the Christians, and the indigenous peoples, or the Lumads, generally get along as neighbors despite our differences, it is the periodic breaking out of armed conflicts and political controversies that strain our relationships. These political tensions and differences are manipulated by those who would use religious differences to recruit followers, especially among the religious of the Islamic faith after 9/11. Thus, over the past 5 years, when a common word came out, we at the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy have chosen to conduct intrafaith dialogues to explain what interfaith dialogue is all about. And we did this because we found out at the village level, people viewed interfaith dialogue as a Christian concept. And a common word negated that by showing that it's also deeply rooted within Islam. A common word expounds on God's commandments to Muslims to love Him and to love their neighbors, referring to their brothers and sisters from the Abrahamic faiths. The Holy Quran commands, "Say, O people of the Scripture, come to a common word between us and you, that we shall worship none but God, and that we shall ascribe no partner unto Him, and that none of us shall take others for lords beside God. And if they turn away, then say, bear witness that we are they who have surrendered unto Him." The Holy Quran also says, "O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know and honor each other, not that you may despise one another. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is he who is the most righteous of you, and Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted." These themes are also commandments of Jesus Christ, thus binding Muslims and Christians together around a set of theological and ethical principles. After all, in the New Testament, Jesus Christ said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength." This is the first commandment. And the second commandment is this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than this. The message of a common word could not be more relevant to the Philippines, specifically to the southern island of Mindanao, whose diverse peoples, Muslim, Christian, and indigenous peoples, have experienced conflict and marginalization over the past 30 years. Its message, focusing on what is common among our faiths rather than what divides them, resonates strongly among our peoples in Mindanao. However, finding common ground does not mean glossing over differences. It is clear that there are important differences that cannot be brushed aside for dialogue's sake. But the meaning of dialogue and engagement is to state one's differences so that we can talk to one another with a clear conscience and sincerity. Instead of focusing on what divides, a common word stresses what is common between the two religions, love of God and love of neighbor. Thus, interfaith dialogue is crucial to forging a common peace for Mindanao. And we are thankful that a common word has come into our lives because now, finally, we have a document that we can use to convince our religious leaders, many of whom are homegrown, who have learned their Islam from community sources. We can show this document that came from our leading scholars to convince them that truly interfaith dialogue, harmony, tolerance, these are Islamic concepts. And what about women? Pacem in Terris recognizes that women have started or had started 50 years ago to participate and should be recognized and harnessed. What about Muslim women? The women who are in the areas of conflict. Pacem in Terris had recognized the value of women's participation, and the Christian universities, the faith-based organizations, have started providing training programs and assistance to Muslim women as well to be more participative in community affairs, especially in humanitarian work. Fortunately, Muslim women have realized that they need to become more active not only in achieving peace, but in addressing serious social, political, and economic issues. Today, more and more women are entering the realm of civil society, provided capacity building by government agencies and national and faith-based organizations that deal with women and families. However, one very influential group of women have not been fully engaged. These are the Muslim religious women, whom we know as alimat or ulama or ustajas. They have had the same education as the men, the ulama and the imam, but their role in the community have largely been to support the ulama organization, although they also teach in the madrasa. The alimat or ustajas have much to offer as a group, although they have been largely overlooked by institutions that provide capacity building for civil society organizations among women. Since the alimat and the ustajas may be considered a point of intersection between our women and the ulama, it is logical and imperative that they be involved in peace and development initiatives as well. Thus, we at the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy launched a project to empower the alimat and the ustajas in collaboration with more secular women civil society organizations. This collaborative network allows both religious organizations and more secular civil society organizations to equally gain from sharing their resources and their experiences. This group that we have developed is called Nurus Salam, the Light of Peace. This Nurus Salam, comprised of Muslim religious women scholars and civil society leaders, have focused on changing the community in non-confrontational areas, health, literacy. They want to do disaster risk reduction. They want to do trauma healing. At this point in time, they do not want to engage the men in theological discussions about empowerment of women or political participation. But for us, that is fine. Because once women become accepted as a source of assistance for humanitarian work, for peace building, for literacy, for health, then they have become empowered. And if they want to take time before they can run for office or engage in a debate with their ulama, that is their decision to make. We are happy that 5 years after we started this, the women have become quite active, quite aggressive, especially in peace processes. I'm pleased to inform you that the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy, in cooperation with the Nurus-Salam, we won the the second prize, the silver medal, in this year's contest for the best events for the World Interfaith Harmony Week. So this is an achievement of the Nurus-Salam, all-women organization. In conclusion, this is the Islamic peace education program that we had developed, and I have left materials with the bill in case you're interested to take a look at it. In conclusion, we peace advocates know that involvement and support of religious actors is critical to the success of peace building in the region. And when they truly espouse the goals of dialogue, religious professionals, the ulama, the priests, the pastors, as I mentioned earlier, have the capacity to guide and motivate the members of the community. And while it is true that political resolution to conflict, the peace agreement in the Philippines, has not yet been finalized, we also realize that at this point in time, it is crucial to lay the foundations for peace, because then otherwise we would have signed a peace agreement and it would just be a piece of paper with absolutely no meaning. At the end, what we think needs to be done is we have to reach out simultaneously from the national to the local, faith to faith, men and women, and ensure ourselves that we are all in this together. There cannot be peace, there cannot be democracy if the stakeholders, the individuals in the community, view everything with suspicion because it is colored by their belief that it is not accepted by their faith. In Pacem in Terris, there has been finally an encyclical that talked to everybody, not just the Catholics. And that gives us great encouragement because then we realize that the Catholic faith has a wealth of knowledge and experience in all of these areas that we are interested in, that we think we need in order to be able a strong foundation for peace. So following Pacem in Terris and the message of Pope John, it is our hope that you together will not forget your brothers and sisters who are still caught in conflict in Muslim Mindanao, and that perhaps someday some of you can come and visit the other Notre Dame and provide us your experience so that we can move forward in putting together our affairs and establishing a true path to peace. Thank you.
Good morning. And now I invite you to come to Pakistan. It's very pleasant over there. A lot of flowers and trees are blooming up. And here it's so cold. I called my mother the other day. I said, Mom, you are having a nice weather, and over here I'm freezing to death. But you're very hospitable, and I am feeling very warm here. And I'm grateful to Bill, who has given me his overcoat so that I don't freeze outside. My topic is Pacem in Terris, its influences and challenges to Catholics, Christians in Pakistan. So I will concentrate on Pakistan and on Pacem in Terris. First of all, I am very grateful to Bill Purcell and Center for Social Concerns of the Notre Dame University for organizing this Catholic Social Tradition Conference entitled Peace Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. celebrating 50 years since Pacem in Terris. Encyclical of Pope John 23rd. This indeed is a very significant topic, and also this is a very significant conference as well, which is international conference, and I feel immense joy and peace in participating in this. I am deeply impressed that the organizers have given such an importance to my country, Pakistan, which is confronted with so many challenges and crises. On the one side, there are people who are determined to promote peace, justice, human rights, reconciliation, healing, interreligious dialogue, and equality for all with discrimination towards none. While on the other hand, there are people and forces who are contrary to peace, and they keep on advocating terrorism, extremism, fanaticism, violence, injustice, and conflicts of all sorts based on religious, ethnic, political, geographical, and linguistic affiliations. There is a constant struggle between good and evil, light and darkness, justice and injustice, fanaticism and respect for all, and religious freedom for all. We are living in a very challenging situation. In such a situation, the encyclical of Pope John 23rd is of prime importance, which has set before all men and women of goodwill an immense task for all of us in my country, Pakistan, and to the rest of the world as well. For example, in number 163 of Pacem in Terris, we read, and I quote, "Hence, among the very serious obligations incumbent upon men of high principles, we must include the task of establishing new relationship in human society under the mastery and guidance of truth, justice, charity, and freedom. Relations between individual citizens, between citizens and their respective states, between states, and finally between individuals, families, immediate associations, and states on the one hand, and the world community on the other. There is surely no one who will consider this a most exalted task, for it is one which is able to bring about true peace in accordance with divinely established order." Unquote. Although this encyclical was written 50 years ago, it is very significant for our times as well. Rather, its importance in Pakistan is much more relevant, and it poses us great challenges to overcome the crisis and thus establish lasting peace in Pakistan and peace on earth. This encyclical has established principles that are featured in some other documents of the Vatican Council too, and you are well aware of that. And all popes after John 23rd, Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul I, Pope John Paul II, Benedict XVI, gave prime importance to truth, justice, charity, and religious freedom, to peace, and to interreligious dialogue. I am sure our present Pope Francis will also do the same to these aspects so that peace may prevail on earth. Pope Francis chose his name to follow the great example of St. Francis of Assisi, who is a model of peace and model of peace with the entire creation, and in following our Savior Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace. So wonderful to know that Pacem in Terris was the first encyclical that the Pope did not address to the Catholics only, but to all men, I would say, women, men and women of goodwill. So it is for all people in the world, it is for all people of Pakistan, both Christians and Muslims, and people of other religions. It encourages us and inspires us to do what is good, based on truth, justice, and charity, to bring peace and harmony in our society. Peace is an ongoing process. It is not an absence of war, which unfortunately we do not have absence of war in Pakistan. We are living in a war-like situation, at least after 9/11. To come out of this war-like situation is an uphill battle. We go 2 steps forward, and we come back 1 step backward. And however, our struggle does not end until there is peace all around us, which is a great challenge by itself. And true and lasting peace in the world, I believe, such a peace can be achieved only when we have peace in our hearts, in our families, in our countries, and we cannot give what we do not have. If we have peace in our hearts, we will be able to give this peace to others. Pope John tells us that how difficult the task of peace is and how few are the number of people who are dedicated to this task. In encyclical number 164, we read, and I quote, "Considering the need, the men who are shouldering this responsibility as far too few in number, yet they are deserving of highest recognition from society, and we rightfully honor them with our public praise. We call upon them to persevere in their ideals, which are of such tremendous benefit to mankind. And at the same time, we encouraged to hope that many more men, Christians especially, will join their cause, spurred on by love and the realization of their duty." Unquote. This message is even more relevant now in the year 2013 for the world and for us in Pakistan, both for Christians and Muslims, Christians who are very deeply rooted in that land, which is Pakistan today. Allow me to take you to a quick tour of the history of Christians in the land, which is Pakistan today. Historically speaking, the establishment and planting of the seed of Christianity in this land goes back to the year 45 to 51 AD, when, according to the Parthian tradition, St. Thomas the Apostle came 3 times to this land, which is Pakistan today. He followed the command and mission which was given to him by Jesus Christ, about which we read in the Gospel of St. Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 to 20. Jesus came up and spoke to them. He said, "All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to observe all the commandments I gave you. And look, I am with you always, yes, to the end of time." And that is what we see, that what has happened in Pakistan, to land which is Pakistan today, that St. Thomas the Apostle went there. And there is a place called Texla, about an hour drive from Islamabad, and it's believed that St. Thomas the Apostle went there, and after that he went to South India. And so we feel very honored, we are very happy that seed of Christianity was sowed in that land during the first century of Christianity, although this seed grew up slowly, but now it has turned into a big tree, and it is giving a lot of fruit. Islam, which was born in 610, it was introduced in that land in 712. When a Muslim named Muhammad bin Qasim, he went there, and later on many mystics or Sufis, they preached Islam, and many people were converted to Islam, to Muslim religion. Coming back to Pakistan, Pakistan got independence on the 14th of August 1947 from the British Raj, under the able leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, to whom we call Qaid-e-Azam, or the great leader. The Christian political leadership took active part in the Pakistan movement and favored Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And at present, Islam is the religion of the majority, 96%, and Christians are only 2%. And in numbers, Muslims, Christians are 4%, 4 million. And we are 2% of the total population, 2% are Hindus. And there are 7 Catholic dioceses, and there are 8 Church of Pakistan or Protestant dioceses in Pakistan. The character of Pakistan underwent a radical change with the military coup of General Ziaul Haq. Unfortunately, our country has been under military rule for the past for 35 years. But the worst one was that of Ziaul Haq when he took over in a military operation in 1977. He led Pakistan to become an Islamic state in a strict sense and through a change in the constitution. Pakistan minorities were removed from the mainstream through the system of separate electorates. It was an apartheid system with the efforts of minorities and constant criticism and condemnation of such system. It was abolished in 2002 by General Pervez Musharraf. The implementation of separate electorates made Christians and all other minorities second-class citizens. Ziaul Haq was the man behind to create hatred and violence in the name of religion. He suppressed our basic human rights of dignity and violated our religious freedom and worship. He supported militancy in the country and provided weapons to the militant groups. We are reaping the bitter fruit of that, what he sowed. And Christians are very often made target by the militants. So far, many Christians have been accused of blasphemy laws, and as a result, if one person is accused, entire Christian village is put on fire and burned to ashes. And so far, not a single Christian has been proved guilty of blasphemy against the Prophet of Islam or desecrating the Holy Quran. But in spite of that, under false accusations, 400 houses of Christians have been burnt in the village like Shantinagar and the city like Gojra, Sangla Hill, and very recently on 9th of March, 170 houses of Christians in Joseph Colony in Lahore, in the heart of the city, were burnt to ashes. 178 houses of Christians, as one Christian man was accused, but as a retaliation, a mob of about 3,000 people, they attacked our colony, and all houses of Christians were burnt. My dear brothers and sisters, and that is the situation that we are living in. And but in spite of that, I would say, as Pope John reminds us, that worst offense against peace, of course, is war. As he has given the quotation of Pope Pius VI, and I quote, "Nothing is lost by peace, everything may be lost by war." Pakistan chose to join war against terrorism, and becoming the allied of USA, over 43,000 Pakistanis have been killed, resulting from terrorist and suicide attacks and bombings, and it is going on. This loss of lives is much higher than the loss we had for having 2 wars against India in 1965 and 1971. Thank God the situation with India is getting better, and Pakistan had declared India as the most favorite nation, and that is something good to rejoice, and I am happy for that. Here are some of the mutual challenges which I would like to bring to your kind attention. There are 4 challenges that we are confronted within Pakistan, both by Christians, both by Muslims, and by Hindus as well. Number 1, and these challenges are presenting you resulted in the consultation which took place of 20 Muslim and Christian scholars last year in Turkey, and I was one of them, and we came up that these are the 4 challenges Pakistan is confronted with and how we can promote peace in that country. Number 1, modernity versus orthodoxy. Conflicting views between the liberal and conservative versions of Islam, cultural values, social norms, and varying degrees of interpretation of some fundamental tenets of Islam, the heads to conflicts and conflicts and division of Muslims in liberal and orthodox followers. So there is constant struggle between liberal Muslims and orthodox Muslims. And role of minority in an Islamic state, so there is different interpretation by those who are fanatics, by those who are orthodox and those who are moderate. Second challenge is misuse of religion as conflict. This means that the use of Islam by politicians, governments for political ends, like the misinterpretation of concepts such as jihad, a concept that the Americans, Pakistanis, and others invoked to launch the anti-Soviet Union jihad in Afghanistan. The Pakistani army invoked the same for its political objectives in the Indian Kashmir. Therefore, inviting and inciting the people into violence, jihad, and exclusion of others, this also sits at the root of the Indo-Pakistan tension. Number 3, misplaced perceptions of non-Muslims. Rigid, cliched views on followers of the West. Christians are considered followers of the West. Stereotyping of Hindus, Jews, and Christians, for instance. Another related dimension of this phenomena is the sense of superiority among Muslims. Muslims at large, because of training and teachings, consider Christians, Hindus, and other non-Muslims as lesser Pakistanis. I would also like to add biased syllabus, which is found in our schools and colleges. What is taught to children in the schools, it presents a very negative picture of Christians and Hindus. There are misinterpretation of their beliefs. And fourth one is crisis of identity. People don't really know or sure how to prioritize identity, whether they are Pakistanis first, or are they Muslims first, are they Punjabis first, or are they Balochis first, or are they Christians first, what? So there is a constant struggle and there is tension. How do we identify ourselves and what comes first for us as Pakistanis? In spite of challenges, I would say there are achievements and there are good points which I want to share, that in spite of the challenges, what Christians have been doing, how we are trying to promote interfaith harmony and peace. Number 1, our Christian community of both Catholics and Protestant churches stand side by side in our country, and it is very vocal and it raises voices against injustices which are done to us. Number 2, Christians have been playing a very prominent role in the field of education, both in English medium schools and Urdu medium schools, and several heads of the states, they have been educated by the Christian schools, like Nawaz Sharif, Benazir Bhutto, Shaukat Aziz, the Prime Minister, and Asif Yusuf Raza Gilani, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Number 3, Christian communities pioneering in promoting Christian-Muslim dialogue. Although dialogue between Christians and Muslims is going on since the birth of Pakistan in 1947, but Christians Catholics established National Commission for Christian-Muslim Relations in 1985, whose head was Bishop John Joseph, and I happen to be the findings secretary of that. Christian Study Center is another important institute in Pakistan, which was established in around 1969 and organizes programs, seminars to promote interfaith dialogue and harmony. A Dominican Center in Lahore is another very important institution which is playing a significant role in spite of all the difficult situations we are confronted with. This center was inaugurated by Cardinal Jean-Louis Thoran, who went to Pakistan for a visit, and he blessed this center. An entire Christian leadership was present there, along with the Grand Imam of the Badshah Mosque in Lahore. And as a director of that center, we organize programs for international days and seminars to promote harmony, peace, and justice in our country, and those are open for both Muslims and Christians. We also publish books from there, and also quarterly magazine called Umang. And along with that, there is another organization which is called United Religions Initiative, or URI. It is an international organization working in 82 countries, and I am the regional coordinator of that, and I have established 43 groups in Pakistan. As Hans Kung has said, there cannot be peace among nations unless there is a peace among religions. So that is what we are working for, to promote harmony and peace among religions and different people. From Pakistan, two Muslim scholars, Suhail Ahmed Raza and Muhammad Usman Nazi, have been sent to Rome for higher studies to learn about Christianity. Suhail has come back, and Professor Zaman Nazi is studying Christianity on the scholarship of the Vatican Nostra Aetate Foundation. So realizing this, I want to say very briefly that Christian leaders are very much interested in promoting interfaith harmony and dialogue. And we find that it's very relevant for us in Pakistan, as Pope John Paul II said, that there are 4 pillars of peace, and those are truth, justice, love, and freedom. And we are working on all those pillars, which he based on the encyclical of John 23rd, Pacem in Terris. Christianity is playing an important role in the politics, and we have been targeted for fanaticism. And Shahbaz Bhatti, who was a Christian minister, he was assassinated by the militants. Very recently, there was a conference in Islamabad on interfaith dialogue and culture of peace, and Prime Minister of Pakistan was the chief guest, which followed by another national conference organized by the National Harmony, and they have promoted peace, that there should be peace promoted in the media, there should be special syllabus in the schools, and our journalists, they should write much more about interfaith dialogue, and interfaith dialogue should be started from our homes and from our hearts. So in conclusion, I want to say that these are the circumstances that we are living in. There are many Muslims also who are interested in promoting Christian-Muslim dialogue, and I have a list of that, but time is not there. But I must say that they are very much interested. They have established about 200 interfaith dialogue groups in Pakistan. There are many challenges that we are faced with as Christians. Such is the situation in which we have to play our important role for the betterment of our society. That is because of our being in a minority, that itself is a beauty. We are called to be the salt of the earth and light of the world, as we read in Matthew chapter 5, 13 and 14. We must never lose our saltiness and light. We may be presenting the face of the suffering Christ. Our church is the suffering church in Pakistan. Persecutions of Christians are not something new for us. The Christians have been facing such persecutions right from the birth of Christianity. But sufferings is not the end. Our model is Jesus Christ, who suffered, died, and rose on the 3rd day. So although we are suffering, but that is not the end. We are never disappointed. Christ suffered, but he overcame that, and he rose again. And Jesus Christ, the one who was resurrected, he is our model. We need to accept the reality that we, as a minority, it does not seem that we will be a majority, at least for the coming several decades. Accepting this reality, it assumes a cross-carrying minority of Mark chapter 8. It assumes the metaphor of leaven from Matthew, we read chapter 13, and not of dough. It assumes the metaphor of salt and not that of dish. It assumes the metaphor of light and not that of darkness. Thus, God, who has reconciled the world, has to be proclaimed by the ambassadors who know it. The encyclical of Pope John 23rd offers us a great inspiration and helps us to meet the challenges we are confronted with. I believe that we shall overcome someday, and one day universal peace in truth, justice, charity, and liberty will be established as envisioned by Pope John 23rd. Amen. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in Pakistan. I have a few slides to share with you. I'll go through them quickly, so give you some idea about our Peace Center and interfaith dialogue that we are promoting in Pakistan. So several efforts are made in spite of all the difficulties we are confronted with. And also I want to say that we are establishing a library in our Peace Center, and also we are looking for partnership so that we can do much more work of peace building in Pakistan. These are some of the highlights from the work which we are doing in Pakistan. So I will put it on a slide mode so you can see this, the things which we are doing there. And some pictures may be blurred, but bear with me. This is a program which was organized at our Peace Center, Lahore, for the URI coordinators. And this is a photo of another Catholic bishop is there, state minister is there, and this is a peace center which we have in Lahore. This is a program of women which was organized there. Another program, a workshop. This picture was taken in Bonn. I received a Golden Road Peace Award there. These are Muslims and Christians and Hindus together observing the International Day of Peace, lighting a candle at Peace Center. This is a photo of the inauguration of Peace Center, and this is another picture of, just a minute, I have 5 minutes enough. So this is the picture which is taken at the inauguration of Peace Center. He's the Grand Imam of the Pacem Mosque in Lahore, which is the second largest mosque, which can hold 100,000 people at a time for prayers. And he's the Bishop Andrew Francis, who is the chairman of National Commission for Christian-Muslim Dialogue, Archbishop of Lahore, president of Bishops' Conference. Now he's retired. He was present. Apostolic, in the middle is Cardinal John Louis Toran, who went to perform the blessing of our Peace Center. And here is Adolfo Tito Yelana, Apostolic Nuncio. And from the Protestant side, Bishop Alexander John Malek. He was present for the blessing of Peace Center. So entire Christian leadership was there. Here is another program. I was invited for a TV talk show, and his name is Tahir Mahmood Ashrafi. He has become very famous because he speaks against misuse of blasphemy laws in Pakistan. Arim Shah Masih, you may have heard, Down syndrome Christian girl. She was accused of blasphemy in Pakistan, but he was very vocal for that. And this is a Shia leader, Akbar Hussain. He said blasphemy laws do not apply on minors. So he also refused that. And you know, this is me. Another famous Auria, John Makbul. We spoke. I recorded 3 programs and condemning the blasphemy case against that girl, and also say that we should work for harmony. I also told them no Christian has been proved guilty under blasphemy laws. This is also a picture of the Peace Center blessing. Here is the Archbishop of Karachi, Joseph Coates, and is the President of Pakistan, Asif Ali Zardari, and his son, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, son of Benazir Bhutto. He's the husband of Benazir Bhutto. A Protestant bishop is there. And the women program. The program. Here another interview on Minhaj television, and This picture behind is of a center which is there. Thousands of people were present there. And this is one view of the magazine which we publish there, Umang. It's both in English and Urdu. In this picture, there is a Master General of the Dominican Order here. He came to Pakistan and he planted peace pole there. On the peace pole in 4 languages written, "May peace prevail on earth." And one encounter. He is our Dominican community students. Another program participants there. I'm presenting a shield to Cardinal John Louis Turan. Is our Urdu magazine. Another celebration there. Over here you see I am receiving a degree, honorary degree of Doctor of Divinity from Norway. Here this picture was taken from in Tokyo at the foot of the Fuji mountain. There's a program organized by the Byako Shinkokai and World Peace Prayer Society, and both Granny Muhammad Badshah Mosque and myself, we were invited to speak there. Bishop Azraya, Protestant bishop, is meeting Muslim. Cover of our magazine. Another presentation. And here was a consultation by the government of Pakistan, and I'm speaking there. Another joint press conference of Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and Sikhs. My mother. Another picture. Dominicans. I was given an award by the government of Pakistan. The minister of the that was a provincial minister. This is a federal minister. He gave me award. Yet another award. I have about 50 awards, different awards. A Sikh visiting our peace center for a program, a peace center from outside. As Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs, we are celebrating Independence Day of Pakistan. And there are about 40,000 people present there. This picture from San Francisco, a group of United Religion Initiative from all over the world, from different religions, who are promoting peace in the world. I'm meeting His Holiness Pope Benedict XVI in Rome. I'm meeting President of Pakistan, and there is a Prime Minister of Pakistan also. 2 in 1. President and Prime Minister. A Christmas program. Blessing of a peace center. Celebrated International Day of Peace last year. And that's all. Thank you very much. Thanks for giving this time. Very much appreciated.
We have time for a couple of questions.
Hi, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
It's specifically for Father Channan. You mentioned that you're looking for additional sources of help, possibly, for your peace initiatives, and I was wondering if there's possibly a place for undergraduate help and work from people who are still in college and maybe not at the graduate level and maybe not at the working level yet, but someone my age.
Yes, that will be most welcome. We are looking for partnership with our center and with the organizations working for peace and interfaith harmony in the world. So those can be further enhanced. We are also establishing a library. And the good news is Vatican also sent about 300 books on Christianity, on peace building, encyclicals of the Pope. And those Muslims who want to do research in Pakistan, we are building up that library. And also we are looking for more resources that we can make it really a good resource center to study Islam and Christianity, other religions, and also partnership with other organizations for programs which we have, the seminars which we have, the workshops which we have. And your point is very, very important, and I look forward to that. That would be great.
Thank you.
Bob?
Amani, I wanted to know in regard, first of all, the Philippines, and I do also want to thank you very much for being here and for sharing with us. I've heard of, in the Philippines, the East Asian Pastoral Institute, and I'm wondering, are they, or have they begun to collaborate in one way or another? Might you know anything about that? That'd be my question. East Asian Pastoral Institute, it's,
Yeah.
I believe, been in existence for quite a long time.
I have heard of East Asian Pastoral Institute. I have been there in the Philippines. And two of our friars, three, they also got training from there. That was early 70s.
Okay.
I remember American Dominican Brother T.A. was here, Father Gregory was here, and so on. So I'm aware of that, and but that'll be wonderful again. I mean, to have something official partnership with that East Asian Pastoral Institute. Yes, that is a very. Yeah, I know that, and a couple of our people also went there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
In the Philippines, in Mindanao anyway, I haven't really come across that institute. The Peace Building Institute that does a regular summer program, and I think it's even connected with Croc, is supported by the Catholic Relief Service. So they have been very good. Every summer, they've got this Peace Building Institute, and they've trained a lot of workers, both from government, from academia, and from civil society groups as well.
Other questions? Well, thank you very much.